Hello and welcome to the Psychic Side here on the A1R Psychic Radio Network, Moonstruck TV, and Enlightening Television. Thank you so much for joining us today on the #1 Psychic Radio Network on Earth. We're the show that kind of debunks the skeptics, and I often bring in people that feel the same way I do, and often are out there in the public and talk about their work. And this month, the end of January of 2024, we've been bringing in psychics from many different places and people that I've known for many years. And I wanted to bring in one of my favorites, and that is Tom T. Moore. Tom was on our program not long ago, and he made some predictions that were just spot on. And so I thought he would be a great addition to our Psychic Prediction Month. So, Tom, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of turn things over to you. We got about 22 minutes for you to just tell us the highlights. Now, I may interrupt a little bit, but I want to focus on you and the things that you have to say. So I know you have lots of predictions. And, oh, by the way, you've been on Coast to Coast and lots of other major shows. Not as big as ours, but that's all right. So, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you, and just let us know what you think about this year, 2024. Thank you. Okay.
And excuse me, and let me first mention that all of these predictions came in my weekly free newsletters that people can sign up for at www.thegentlewaybook.com. Okay. So,
great.
Starting off with probably maybe the biggest benevolent event of 2024 will be the total solar eclipse on April 8th. It's going to start from Eagle Pass, Texas, after coming out of Mexico, and go up through Dallas and Fort Worth and Little Rock, Arkansas, all the way up through the Ohio Valley and Syracuse and Buffalo, New York. So that's
pretty major. Yeah.
Very major. And so it's going to make people, or sort of rewire us to become much, much more benevolent and sympathetic to other people. And you don't even have to be right underneath it. I was told you can be hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. I will mention that I wrote an article about this for the Sedona Journal of Emergence, and that will be in their March issue. That will be coming out somewhere around the 20th or so of February, if you want to read more about that. So, but a big benevolent event. It's interesting because it's going right through the heart of conservative United States. So we'll see how that changes attitudes and such. Okay.
Okay. Well, very good. Very good.
So another benevolent event that should have happened already, I'm still told it's going to happen soon, is the release of the plans with no patent for free energy machine. And it will be a huge game changer for the whole world, because it will allow even villages in Africa that don't have any electricity whatsoever to suddenly have electricity, be able to run cell phones, and children to be able to talk online. So it'll really up the educational ability of people all over the world. And of course, suddenly you won't have to pay any electric bills.
Wow, that's pretty good. Is that a Tesla type thing, or because Tesla was talking about making energy free?
It's going to be some big organization that's going to do it. Keep in mind, there have been other free energy machines that uh, um, had been invented, but they were bought up by oil companies and basically hidden. So this one will come with no patent, and anyone can build it in their garage if they want to.
Very good. Very good. Okay.
Okay.
Well, good.
What's
That's
next?
major. That's pretty major. Well, I have your list here, and you've been talking a little bit about some more earthquakes and eruptions in the United States. And what can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. Quickly, now this has remained the same probability for at least a year and a half. There's a 73% probability of Yellowstone erupting and a 63% of earthquakes all along the West Coast if that happens. And if it were to happen, it would mean a mini ice age all across the top of the United States, all the way to Chicago, because the snows would not melt during the summer. Now, Gaia, soul of the Earth, has not been given permission to have those events yet. So if you happen to see a lot of people migrating uh, away from the West Coast and Yellowstone area, and a lot of people migrating to that area, that tells you that the souls had given their permission, and the guardian angels are moving their people away or to experience the event.
Hmm. Well, very good. Now, you also mentioned about weather. Do you think the weather is going to be unusual this year, or is it going to be just normal patterns, or what?
It's going to be more normal, but with that, I mean, last summer we just had weeks of wilting heat, and this year there are going to be breaks of cold weather systems coming, but with that comes storms and more tornadoes this year.
Okay. You're following some of the themes of some of the other psychics that we've had on our program the past month, and so
Okay.
it's very interesting that's the theme, the different themes that you're coming up with.
Yeah.
So,
I don't consider myself a psychic. I just I just go into a meditation and ask the questions that people
yeah,
that read my newsletter all over the world send to me to ask in these sessions.
that's very good. Well, it's good that you're able to get into that meditative state and receive the information from beyond the physical. That's what we find, or I find so amazing about your work. But also, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the economy because you mentioned a few things there. You mentioned that you felt like there might be a major stock market crash this year.
Mm.
Is that one of the things that you feel is going to happen?
No, uh, there will be no stock market crash. There'll be wide swings, pardon me, of the stock market up and down during the year, but there will be no crash.
Okay, so lots of volatility, lots of ups and downs. So usually, when there's a lot of volatility, people can make a lot of money and lose a lot of money. So
That's true.
that's
Yeah.
uh, that's one of the things that we've been wondering about. So, but do you think the economy is going to be much better this year?
Oh, well, I think it will be. Um, that's I really haven't asked enough questions on that to yet um, to really nail that down, but it sounds like um, from what I understand that with these wide swings, right now there are only 7 technical stocks that are driving the whole market. So as long
Mhm.
as they stay up, I guess the market will.
Will continue to be up and down the way it is. Yeah. Well, very good. Well, another thing is I noticed that you had some information about China and Taiwan, and then you spoke a little bit about Australia, that part of the world. Let's start with that, if you don't mind. What do you believe is going to happen in that area of the world?
Well, I was told, and this was just before the earthquake in Japan. So Japan could be considered part of Asia. Okay. And I was told that because that's such a massive continent, there would be some strong earthquakes during the year. And of course, right after that, I bet it was within a week or so, Japan had that strong 7.3 or whatever it was earthquake.
Mhm.
So they're supposedly, because it is such a large continent, they will have more earthquakes.
Okay, okay. And China and Taiwan, do you see conflict there, or is it going to be just a status quo?
More of a status quo. China does not want to um, have the United States suddenly get involved, and so there will be lots of saber rattling, but there will be no invasion. I'm told.
Okay, very good.
China is in for the long game. They think even if it takes another 5 years or 10 or whatever, they think eventually they will get back Taiwan. We'll see.
Okay, well, very good. And you mentioned something about Ukraine. Is that area of the world going to still be a stalemate, or will it be something that we'll have to be concerned about in the near
Yeah.
future?
I'm told that the war in the Ukraine will be the last war in Europe. But when I ask about, well, what about the Middle East? I, I said, will that be the last war? Oh, no, Tom. That's not going to be the last one. So
So is the Middle East going to be expanding? I know today we've had, well, yesterday we had news of an attack on an American base that took some American service people. Is this going to be escalating for us, or how do you feel that's going to turn out?
yeah, I think it's still, uh, the United States is trying to tiptoe and do some surgical stuff, financial, maybe uh, assassinate a couple of Iranian government people, but um,
Hmm.
Iran. Uh, I just hate seeing them uh, uh, going in this direction because uh, the people of Iran are really nice people. All the way back in my college days, at
Hmm.
one point I roomed with three guys from Iran. They're really nice guys, and um, I really, the Iranian
Sad.
people are
It's sad.
super nice.
Yeah, it really is. Well, now you mentioned something here about overlapping of timelines in 2024. What do you mean by that?
Sure. We're on timeline number 6. Okay. There are 12 parallel Earths. And we're on timeline 6, the middle frequency. Um, the upper timelines have easier lives, and the lower timelines have harder lives. So it all depends on the frequency. So we're in the middle. And every once in a while, these timelines cross over. So, like we've crossed over before with timeline 5, we crossed over with timeline 7 in our, and when this happens, it, it there are things that go on that affect everyone uh, at the same time, but then after the timelines uh, uh, diverge, then the different decisions are taken as to how to handle the events that happened. So
So, so there are there like you said, there's 12 different Earths. Are there?
yes,
We have doppelgangers, as they call us. We have identical souls or identical people in each of these different worlds.
right. There's 12 of you,
Do I have
and
more hair than any of them?
and with 12 um, Earths go along, we're in a special space-time continuum that was set up by creator of our universe to to see if the four negative energies could be worked with. So the whole solar system is within the space-time continuum. And then when you leave our solar system and get out past the Oort belt, then that's when the 10 positive energies start coming back into play, because the rest of our universe and the trillions of other universes are all set up on 10 positive energies. No one's ever been able to work with these 4 negative ones. We're the first ones that have been able to do it.
Well, that's very good. That's good to know. Well, while we're in outer space, you mentioned something about ET documentaries. Uh, what is that? Can you explain that a little bit?
Okay. Um, in my book, um, first first contact conversations with an ET,
Mhm.
um, I was about to send in my manuscript to my publisher in 2013, and I had been in contact. My guardian angel Theo had introduced me to an ET that turned out to be part of my soul group and had had 800 lives on Earth. And this ET, it turned out his name was Antura, and he was a member of my soul group. And his sole interest is exploration. So at the present time, he is 50 miles above us in a giant um, uh, spaceship, mothership that's 3 miles wide on the outside, 20 stories tall, but on the inside, because they're in the 10 positive energies, they're it's 15 miles wide. So
Mhm.
Antura says it's roomy, and it has a crew of 900 plus uh, their families totaling 1,600, because the crew lives on their whole lives. And so they're on their up 50 miles up, taking millions of readings every day, along with 24 or approximately other motherships. And so Antura kept hinting to me. And finally, just before I sent my manuscript in, he said, "Oh, Tom," because he's not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to ask specific questions. I can't ask him a general question, as you'll see in the book. He said, "Tom," he said, you and your family are going to come up to our mothership, and you're going to be here for 14 days, and you're going to be able to shoot documentaries on our ship, and you'll have the full range of the ship with the exception of the engine room." And so, and that goes back to my training. My sole contract in this life was to get into the film and TV program distribution business, and I've been an executive producer of some super low budget movies and TV shows. So I know how to shoot cheap, and so it's going to be a 4 camera shoot, and it'll be just my family and I.
Okay.
So
Well, very good. Well, you have to keep us informed about that. So
yeah, I
there's,
won't be able to tell anybody about it
oh,
for 2 months after,
that's
approximately
fine.
2 months after we get back, because it will, um, uh, we're gonna have to do what's called, in the film distribution business, it's called a
Uh-huh.
pitch deck. And we'll have to, my daughter, who has a degree in film from Loyola Marymount, and I will have to put together a pitch deck. One of my
That's your
dogs
dog.
in the
Your dog.
room. Pardon everybody. And uh, so anyway, uh, we'll put that together
Okay.
in order to offer it to the big guys like the Netflix and the Paramount people and all those the larger companies, because
Okay.
there'll be 2 feature-length films and 100 plus episodes.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, we're not quite there yet, but we'll get there. But I wanted to kind of once again turn a little bit more domestic. We only have a couple more minutes really to where we can talk about the domestic situation. And I noticed that you had a little bit about Vivek Ramaswamy, and then you mentioned something about health event for Donald Trump. And
Mhm.
then finally, I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the election, if you have any insight or were given any insight about that, so that we can see if we can follow some of
Right.
these ideas.
Okay, I have been told, originally I was told that Donald Trump would have some health issues. This was all back in 2023. And but recently I was told that um, it would possibly be congestive heart failure, and he would have to withdraw from the race. And so I said, well, but Mr. Biden has said that if Mr. Trump was not in the race, that he might not run. And I was told that, well, but by the time this happens, it will be so late that Mr. Biden would not be able to withdraw from the race. So,
Okay. So you
and
feel like Joe Biden will win the election?
yes, but he will not finish his term.
Okay. Okay.
So
Wow.
those are,
Mhm.
you
Now
know,
you mentioned something about Vivek Ramaswamy. Is he going to be playing a larger role in
n-
the
no,
politics, or what?
no, I'd ask about that before he withdrew. You know, obviously he was running for vice president, and and I don't think he's even going to get that nomination from Mr. Trump. I think Mr. Trump is going elsewhere, but
Going elsewhere? Okay. Well,
I
okay. Very good.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
Okay. So let's see what else. I know you said our vibrational level, 7,000 years. I think you kind of covered that. Um, a little bit about guns for groceries, a buyback national proposal. And
Mhm.
then you mentioned something about lawsuits being filed against corporations backing an engineering ET craft. Um, so we can finish up with those
Okay.
predictions if you don't mind.
Sure. First, on the suits against corporations, that's coming. I think Daniel Sheehan and a group of attorneys that are going to go pro bono are going to file suits against these large companies like Lockheed and all that have these black sites in back engineering, these downed ET craft, and those should be coming in the first quarter of this year. Um, so we can look at that. I just saw an interview with Sheehan where he was claiming they had 40 whistleblowers that are they're going to come out one after another, getting their experiences at these black sites. But there are also going to be these suits. So that's one thing that's coming along. Um, let's see. And you mentioned what else?
One of the other things about, let's see, we talked about guns for groceries. And,
Sure. I I came up with that idea because um, there have been tons of events all over the United States where there are one-day events put on. Even like just in Texas, we've had gun buyback programs in Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston had 4 or 5 so far. El Paso, and this is a conservative state. People feel they should have a way to get rid of these old guns and whatever, and especially in a household where they might accidentally or you know, some kid would pick up one and accidentally shoot another, or suicide or whatever. And so I came up with guns for groceries, where people would get gift cards that could only be used in 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 grocery stores and would be administered by the ATF,
uh,
um, who would destroy the guns. And so that's supposed to get going after the solar eclipse. We'll see.
okay, all right. So we have less than about a little over a minute left. You mentioned something about what music will continue to last in the next 1,000 years.
Yeah,
What
it's
is it?
only
Rock and
right. It's only going to be
60 seconds.
classical music, and so I hope Rhapsody in Blue is included
Ah,
because I really like. like that symphony.
Okay.
So it's only going to be classical music. All the popular music, if you notice, is starting to go into different languages, Spanish and
Yeah.
Korean, and you name it. So that's going to happen in the upcoming years.
All
So,
right. Well, let me stop you right there because we only have a few seconds left. And but thank you very much, Tom, for being a part of our program. I do want to take a moment to thank my sponsor for the psychic side, which is Miracles of Joy. Go to their website, use the promo code 0223 on their website. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Join us next week here on the psychic side. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.